Yeah. We've only got a handful of people on this one, right?
Yeah. Man-Meat should be coming in. I can't remember. Scott, I think he's the other guy.
How Sheen's on.
Hmm.
Okay. No, this was for those listening in. I asked Rob to do this just because I wanted to have a quick try of these wines before we wind down for the because we got a chance of getting some more of them in.
Well, let's have a look at the Hemera.
Well, some of these have been caught up in the China debacle. So, for instance, one of them, which we're not having tonight, is that Eddystone Tasmanian. I mean, that's just one best Tasmanian Pinot or something that's $45. Unheard of. Wow.
It's pretty nuanced. That apparently the vines on the Hemera, I'll never get this fucking word right. Hemera.
Apparently it means the sun god or something.
Yeah. 80 to 100-year-old vines.
Hemera. Oh, Hermes. Okay, yeah, there it is.
And then apparently it's distinctive from the rest of what they do because it's all new French. Imagine what they're spending on barriques. It's just amazing, right? I mean, a new French barrique must easily be 50,000 Australian dollars now, because when I lived in Australia, they were 35. So they must easily be that now, 12 years later.
How much does a barrique hold?
228 bottles.
No, it won't be 50 grand. No, you got your numbers wrong. Definitely got numbers wrong.
How many bottles in a barrique? 250 to 300 liters, 335 bottles.
Yeah, so it can't be 50 grand.
Still a lot of money.
It can't be 50 grand. Can't be. Not possible.
Yeah, Hasheng, all 6 of them are available. I'll send you the link. We've only marketed one of them so far. That's number 2 that we're seeing tonight. There's the link. No, Hemera is a rock and roll. It's amazing. I like the subtlety of it, Lou. I think it's great.
I'm not having it. I haven't had it yet, though.
Okay.
Number 1's the Pinot, right? Must be.
Yeah, number 1's the Sergio, the Carlei.
It's okay.
Yeah, I'm not swinging from the lampshades with it, but
I preferred the home oak. Did you try that? That was great. Really good.
How Sheng, are you talking about the Pinot or the Hemera when you say a very modern style? I think you're talking about the Hemera because that's kind of what I think. Yeah. There's, that kind of flabby muscularity that used to be, especially with Barossa. It's just not here certainly in the 2 Barossas that we're looking at, number 2 and number 6. Number 6 is like, for me, is a bit more rustic. There's a little bit of reductive characteristics in it. I quite like them side by side because I think they're talking different languages. With the Rosenvale, it's 6 generations, blah, 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 blah. I mean, the guys have been around forever. The original German settlers, apparently. And the big value add for the Rosenvale is retail's $85 and we're $49. So Rosenvale, when we actually show that it's going to sell like crazy.
Yeah, that was the one. I'm trying to think what I bought. I bought these a little while back when they were shown to me as part of. I was shown about 30 different parcels of Aussie wines that were struggling to find homes, and yet were top of their game. So some of them were deep, some of them the usual deeply discounted, left on the shelf type of stuff.
Okay.
And others like the Hemera was just super highly rated stuff that was at a decent price.
Well, the Rosenvale's definitely falling into that category of the distressed pricing.
Yeah, I think anything's got 2016 or 2017 on it. Okay. In general, that's distressed because they're just trying to move it out the door. It's normally a cancelled export order, frankly, when it's that age. I don't know if that's going to come to an end next year. The Chinese and the Australians seem to be at least talking to each other again. But
the guy who was sitting next to me at dinner last night has it's from WA and has a food import business here in Singapore. And he tells me that produce for China out of WA has been affected as well. I didn't realize that they embargoed food as well.
Yeah. The lobsters.
Oh, of course. Okay. Because he said
live seafood.
They make some exceptions to certain kinds of fresh food, but he's in the cheese and the truffles business, and they ain't buying.
No,
that's for sure.
No. It was just a general ban on everything unless they really needed it. So yeah, they banned coal and ended up buying it via the Indian brokers anyway.
Really?
There's absolutely no point in banning yourself from buying something that you need. Right? So banning yourself from buying Australian wine, that's fine because you've got all sorts of wines. But when you're talking about a commodity, all you did was set up a back channel for the brokers.
What an absolute waste of time. Really.
Oh, total waste of time, yeah. I've got a thermal power plant. It runs on coal. It runs on Australian spec coal. It doesn't run on any other coal. So I've got two choices. I shut it down and make myself freeze to death and shut my factories, or I pretend not to buy the coal but buy it anyway, buy the back channel.
From somebody else.
That's exactly what happened. All the coal miners in Australia, share prices have gone up 5,000% in the last 6 months. It was obviously Ukraine tipped the balance over the top as well.
Yeah.
But China's been buying Australian coal with their ears pinned back. World's publicly saying we're not touching that stuff. Stupid.
Yeah.
Whereas, lobsters, they can get lobsters from places, no problem.
Well, somebody sent me a picture from Coles in Redfern or something, and you could buy 2 lobsters for $10 or something. And 5 years ago, you could barely get the garlic bread that went next to the lobster for $10.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me because with that fresh produce stuff, what are they going to do? There was a stage where every Singaporean Chinese restaurant had a special on Australian slipper lobster, if you remember.
Yeah.
Then that went by the by. I think people probably just had too much of it. Stone fruit, the other one.
I reckon I like these 2 Barossa Shirazes for different reasons. It's really cool tasting them side by side. For me,
number 6.
Number 6, yeah.
Number 6. All right, hold on. Catching up.
Because
I mean that Pinot's okay, but it's not.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Not spectacular. What's the Pinot selling for?
55. 45.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
The Hemera is all this sort of silky, soft, sort of satiny kind of texture and what have you, and really poised, whereas the Rosenvale's definitely got that reductive element to it. There's a kind of rustic tannic construct to it that I really like.
Blackberry.
Yeah, I actually think I prefer it. Maybe I'm just
Lots and lots of blackberry. It reminds you
maybe I'm being a bit nostalgic for the old style, but I quite like that. I think that's great.
It's got those old black pastel.
Yeah. And maybe mulberry or brambles, or it's got that kind of
It's something black
wild,
fruit.
yeah.
Black is black fruit.
I think it's
like
delicious. I actually also think it's, of the two, it's the one that probably is less ready and will evolve longer and further of the two side by side.
So is this the this is the Angaston
Angaston Road, yeah.
I've been to Angaston Road.
Really? Yeah.
A long time ago.
15% alcohol, but I'm not really picking.
Really?
Yeah,
I'm
I'm not
picking it up at all.
I'm not. Do you think more?
No, I'm not picking it up at all.
Yeah, that was my feeling.
No, heat at all. What a great nose.
I think Sam Kim's right when he talks about the structure, because that's really the thing that's the winning shot for me, is the structure of the wine. I really love the architecture of it. I think it's great.
Very different, aren't they?
Yeah.
I'm liking number 6 better.
What's that, Di?
I'm liking number 6.
Yeah, me too.
I like that blackberry.
Yeah.
Type thing that comes through, but it's not too over the top.
Yeah, it's not overt, but it's definitely part of the picture. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, that would be my preference as well, I'd say. But there's
Both excellent though.
very different stylistically.
I actually think the Hirano will be the one that sells commercially more because it's so ready and appealing right now. I reckon more people will go for it when they taste it, but the price discount on the Rosenvale is a slam dunk, really.
Yeah, I don't think I can get any more of the Hemera.
Okay.
I think that was it. It was a one-off thingy. I can try. Although, didn't we pitch it? We pitched it the other day.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we've got a handful of bottles left. So.
Yeah, I checked this. There's 12.
Okay.
12 of that left now.
Oh, I could chase some more, but I don't think I need to.
No, I think the right thing to do is to show another one. And then I like that one. Obviously, the guys who are on the call tonight can take whatever they want from it, but what I might do is then shut down the others and just open up one at a time. You know, just do them slowly over the holidays.
Yeah, I guess so. I just need to go and find out whether there's more stock available.
Yeah.
Because I know the Eddystone, I think, is done, the Tasmanian Pinot.
Right.
Carlei, I'm not sure. I think the Rosenvale, I can get some more.
Yeah.
Hemera or Hemera, whatever the hell it is. I think that's done.
Okay.
What's number 3? What's this?
Adelaide Hills, Sidewood. The critics make quite a thing about the Rhone-esque style of this wine.
Really? So it's Adelaide Hills, sure.
Adelaide Hills, yeah. 35% new French.
Really?
Yeah.
This is how come I haven't got these up? Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
that's quite nice.
I'm disorganized tonight.
It's very clearly not Barossa.
Yeah.
Lower alcohol, 14.5%.
Is that deemed lower alcohol these days?
65 cellar door. We're at 55, so slightly cheaper.
This is the.
It's pretty high altitude. It's 380 meters above sea level, which places it about near the top of Adelaide Hills. I don't think Adelaide Hills gets much higher than that, does it?
I wouldn't have thought so. Let's have a look here. Oh, no,
There's an intensity in the wine that's quite impressive.
Adelaide Hills Mappinga.
And also maybe meat. There's like definitely a meat carnivorous component to the nose. It's nice. It's definitely lighter than the Rosenvale for me in terms of top palate. And
It's been nice.
No, frankly, I've never had these three before. I've never even heard of them. Three Shirazes.
Oh, quite
Yeah,
showing well.
very impressive.
I think this one's got.
It's not like they're falling over either. I mean, they've got
No.
plenty left in the tank.
I didn't do the decanting, so I'm not sure about Stelvin and cork on them.
Oh, I don't know.
It would have an impact, but whatever they've done it right. whether it's got Stelvin and cork in it or not, I don't know. But
Sidewood. You ever heard of Sidewood before?
no, these are Rosenvale. I remember from 100 years ago.
Really?
I don't remember it with that additional reference to it. The Angaston Road bit, but anything's possible. It's such a long time ago. And 30% whole bunch, that's what's bringing the grunt to the wine. There's no references in any of the other tasting notes on the other Shirazes about whole bunch, but you can definitely see the impact of it in this wine.
Robert, you're speaking about the Sidewood?
Hey, man, yeah.
All right, yeah, cool. Thanks.
I believe you guys finished quite late the other night after dinner. I bumped into Sid.
An epic night, I promise.
I'm very relieved that I was a good boy.
From what I recall, it was epic.
Excellent. Lou, Manmeet's another member of the Pall Mall Club.
All right.
So after dinner, we were at Little India doing the Bindi vertical. He and Sid ended up at Pall Mall afterwards, and they helped close the place that night, by all accounts.
They had to ask us to leave.
Well, you're only there to help, just being friendly.
Maybe
So
there's a little bit.
I was just going to ask, how do you feel about the Pall Mall Club? I've been there a couple of times now, and I've got mixed feelings about it. I don't know whether it's going to work for members or not. They seem to have issued maybe a few too many memberships.
I don't know if it's few too many memberships, or every time a member goes, they bring in 4 or 5 friends and so on, right? But they've been fairly good, I think, recently in terms of awarding or getting reservations for members and all of that. I just like the fact that you can go there and order by the glass, a very wide range.
Oh, a massive range.
Exactly. So yeah, when you go in a group, then everybody can get whatever they want, and then you just take it from there.
The flexibility is enormous. They've asked us to present a various list of stuff from our site in order for them to fill some gaps. I didn't see any gaps, but apparently they'll fill it.
And in fact, Lou, getting a listing there probably means you're going to sell a few bottles a month at best, because there's just so much wine.
Absolutely.
I mean, I went down a rabbit hole. They kept handing me the list when I was there with Lewis, and I just kept getting lost. Sections of Rhone and the most really obscure things. But
I was
there's a
having
lot to choose from.
I was having stuff that I've never even heard of before. Grape varieties from Spain that you would probably know. I'd never had before. It's just bizarre. But I was there last Monday night with 5 other guys. They're trying to induct me into Apex, which is always a bit scary. Felt a little bit cultish, but that's all right. I'm way too busy to be able to have time spare to do that sort of charitable stuff. But the guy I was there with was a little bit peeved that it took him 3 weeks to get his table. So he was a bit annoyed.
So there's also, back to the Sidewood, there's a decent minerality to it as well. I think it's bringing a lot of aspects to the table. I think it's a really well-made wine. I can see why Sam gave that 96. Do you know who this Patrick Eckel is, Lou?
He's a writer.
I've never heard of him before.
He has done. He's certainly worked for Halliday in the past.
Oh, okay.
I think he's also worked for Wine Pilot. Do you know those guys? Wine Pilot. They've been running for about 3 years now, I think.
Yeah.
Sort of independent.
I noticed that Huon Hook gives this 95, and for me, that's probably more marketable and persuasive than the Patrick Eckel rating or even the Sam Kim rating. Because 95 from Huon at this price point is not insignificant. For me,
good wines.
For me, he's kind of remained quite a conservative rater for that class of critic. I quite enjoy his rating still.
I don't associate him with Shiraz ratings, I gotta say. Okay.
So, Hasheng, just to answer that, from everything I've read, I kept seeing French oak. How much is new and how much is old, they don't always say. But I think stylistically, that's what's coming through.
I tell you what, I keep coming back to this number 6. I'm really loving it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Oh, not to belittle the others, but this is outstanding.
Whenever I go back to number 2 again, I'm thinking less and less of it. Because for me,
right. It's hard when you're up against a big show pony like this number 6. It's just preening it around the ring and just sort of flexing all its muscles.
Yeah.
That number 2 is a much more subtle expression. I think it says more about me than it does about the wine, but I keep going back to this number 6.
Yeah.
I always like the more overt fruit notes. That's just me. That's my palate.
Yeah, but it's in the instance of this, of the Rosenvale, it's just got so much of it. It's like, it's jumping out the glass with that sort of juicy blackberry.
Yeah, it's in a good place.
Yeah.
2017. Yeah, nice.
So looking at 4 and 5 side by side, one pure Grenache, the other one mainly Grenache, both 2020s. It's interesting that they've definitely changed for me in the glass. Initially, I was far more interested in the nose of the Grenache Shiraz blend, number 5. But there's a beautiful purity coming out now that the wine's warmed up, number 4.
There's a big story behind this Curtis thing. They've been hammered they were literally sending 90% of their production to China. And that's why we're seeing what we're seeing. And they've been devastated by the whole Chinese situation. So this is the second vintage that we've taken of their stock.
I didn't do the research on McLaren 19 versus 20. I should have done that before tonight. Just
I know I can get more. They've got a lot. Well, look at the difference in the colour. Wow.
yeah. I really just love what Grenache and Shiraz does as a blend.
Well,
out of
these
Australia.
guys have spared no expense in terms of the making the wines, and we are getting them at a very large discount to what they sell in Australia, or what they used to sell with export.
Well, the number 4 is 100 Oz Celador, and we're 55.
There you go.
I don't have the R1 number 5, but I'm guessing it's something similar. It's slightly cheaper. It's 45 bucks.
I think it's 80 bucks Celador.
All right, so
Um,
the same sort of discount, so 40-50%.
yeah, but their philosophy is absolute top ranked. They don't spare any expense in making the wine. I think they're going to have to going forward. But when they made this, the world was still working nicely for them. So we've had previous vintages of these.
Yeah. I really like the texture of the plain Grenache. There's a kind of sleek, steely, smooth kind of texture to it that's nice. Where it's different from my little experience of Spanish Grenache is that there's a ripeness in it that seldom manifests the same way out of Spanish Grenache, 100% Grenache. This is super ripe fruit. It reminds me a little bit of the old Clarendon Grenaches.
I reckon the Clarendon Grenaches take it to a slightly higher level.
Texturally or?
In terms of structure.
Right.
Gee, it's pretty good though, isn't it?
Yeah. It's very complete, it's very, very finished.
How old is it? What is it?
2020.
Yeah. Okay. That surprises me. I would have thought it was older.
I just think the Shiraz in the blend comes through so well.
Oh, isn't that lovely?
It's brilliant. It just somehow, it's like the old Cab Shiraz debate. It's doing this. It's doing the same thing for the same reasons. Somehow just fills out the picture more for me.
I know the purists will hate me, but I think I prefer that.
Yep, I agree. I better sell the more expensive one first. So you reckon easily accessible volumes of both?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, it's the problem when you rely too much on one market, right? And then that market shuts its doors. They didn't have anywhere else to go.
Well, there were people 18 months, 2 years ago that were saying, well, if China goes, this is before the embargo, we can always turn it around and sell it to Europe and what have you. But the sheer enormity of the Chinese market, you can't just flick a switch and send it on a different boat. It's not that easy.
Well, the hope now of the Australian Wine and Branding Corporation is to ignite in India the same interest and success that they had in China.
Yeah.
And they're dreaming.
They're not dreaming.
They're dreaming. First of all, the tax structures there are such that it makes it very difficult to do anything apart from bottled in India wine.
Yeah.
And secondly, the demographic is so wedded to branding. Look at the massive success of Cloudy Bay, for instance, amongst the Indian drinkers, because they feel comfortable with that, that security blanket of a brand that means that they can never be embarrassed by bringing wine that other people just sort of look at you and sneer and go, well, what is that? Because wine is largely aspirational still for a lot of people in that society, you don't want to make the social faux pas of bringing something that everyone's going to sneer at.
Yeah.
And that's why Cloudy Bay has done so well with the Indian community and got good luck.
But I mean, I guess it's just us now.
No, I guess so,
You
yeah.
can say anything you like now.
No, but one thing to keep in mind, right? That was one of the things we used to see in China as well. So you ordered, I mean, depending on the importance of who you are treating that night, you ordered based on price because you just didn't know,
Very true. Yep.
any grape from any other or whatever it is. And for me, what's actually surprising is in the context of India is in many respects, and a lot of these conspicuous consumption traits, India is not too far in tracking China's evolution characteristically. However, from a numerical perspective, it's a slower growth curve.
Right.
The numbers are the same, or broadly the same. You'll get to that point eventually. But what China did in 5 years might happen in India in, I don't know, depending on what we're talking about, 10, 15, or 20 years or whatever it is. But it will happen. Like even now, I think about when I go back to India and you look at where your friends want to go out for a dinner, or you go to a friend's home or something and they've got some bottles of alcohol or wine, and I'm actually very pleasantly surprised by the increasing level of understanding and sophistication that they're coming up with.
That's good to hear, mate.
And this is not just the wealthiest 1-2%. This is permeating down into, in India, what we call sort of the upper middle class and whatever have you. Or even if you go to 4-star hotels or these country clubs that are very prevalent across the country, you go there and you see what's available at the bar. Over the last 15 years, it's improved in quality immensely with a certain nuance that now when I talk to some friends, they're saying stuff that I would have never imagined. That they would be talking like this about the origins of various alcohols and the characteristics and so on. And for wine, it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, I think the analogy to China is a fair one. I just think that the goal they have of turning around in 2 years is just unrealistic.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. Like, nothing China does at scale is something that one can solve for in any other part of the world in 2 or 3 years. But
I'm a great believer that any society that understands the nuances of tea drinking will understand wine. It's just the way it is, right?
All right, you've got a fan in my wife here now.
Oh, good. Good, but
Chinese tea ceremony.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? If one trains their palate to appreciate certain types of tea, given the tannic structure of tea and the whole process of where they come from, origin, fermentation, preparation, etc., that culture will easily embrace the rituals and the religion that goes with wine. That's why I think India inevitably will embrace wine, inevitably. But it ain't going to happen as quick as they'd like to think. No way.
No, it's not. It's not. It will take its own sort of adoption cycle, but don't be surprised if you find a sudden spurt happening in terms of A, the adoption of wine, and B, their understanding and knowledge of the characteristics, right? I can't imagine, just a personal view, I can't imagine that happening at anywhere near China's adoption and sort of understanding pace. That's just a whole different level. But I'll give you an example. I'm stunned that 67 Pall Mall is actually having a tasting of some Indian wines.
Right.
I think next week or something like that, or maybe it happened this week or so. I mean, the very fact that I even saw such an event happening in and of itself was profound to me.
Yeah, because if you zoom out even 5 years, you wouldn't consider that being a thing, right?
Forget it. No way, right? And a lot of that domestic demand. it's the same characteristic. First, you want to just show off that you kind of know the stuff, but you're basically buying based on price, and you do a quick Google search and you can give,
Yeah.
5 tasting notes and impress anybody else out there and so on. And then over time, that just has to become the norm, because the minute you order an Opus One at a 5-star restaurant for somebody, the next time you meet them, you can't go less than that, right? Now you got to move up, or you got to stay at par, right? You can't go back and say, hey, look, this, Penfolds, not one of the fancy bins, but the regular is just as good, or almost a good, better value. You don't talk value for money. You just talk about, hey, this is the shit. There are 100 bottles out there. I've got 5. Let's have a good time, right? Something like that.
Yeah,
So
it's gotta be special.
So you've got, I mean, in many ways, from that sort of perspective, Indians, especially North Indians, we love the showing off part of things. With the Shanghai of India in that sense.
Okay.
It's very I think it's just a matter of time where wine becomes just that much more well understood in a massive market in India. The import duties, the challenges of doing business there, that's painful. That's just
But maybe surely they're going to review that. Surely at some point.
Mate, I don't know. Look, every major liquor brand in the world has a strong presence in India, and some of them are, invested into by Indian companies and so on and so forth, right? So there's a lot already happening around that. I mean, whatever best can happen is already being played. Any sort of lobbying around in the background, but it's still, culturally, it's still a fairly conservative country all around, from a variety of parameters, and it'll take some time. It's